Sometimes the best thing to do when you're stuck in a guitar rut is to retune your guitar, throw on a reverb pedal, and sell all your crypto and buy a tiny home off the grid in Wichita. So today we're going to do some cool stuff, something a little bit new for me. We're going to do a open tuning guitar lesson that's going to end with a performance, okay? So before we get to the tuning, it's going to sound kind of like this. So you'll notice a couple things. This is not in standard tuning, nor is it a clean sound on the guitar. I mean, it's clean, but it's a really cool reverb sound, okay? So this video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Walrus Audio. They wanted me to pick out a Walrus Audio pedal, and the reason I picked out the Descent, which you're hearing here, is because it really works well with this Travis-style picking pattern, okay? Why I like this one, here's just no reverb at all, all right? And then with the pedal, I love it because you can add a lower octave to it and also a higher octave. But again, mostly we're gonna look at the lower octave of this pedal and talk about this tuning, all right? So the first thing I've done is I've taken the low E string and I've tuned it down to a D, okay? So this tuning is gonna be D, A, D, F sharp, B, E, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fret the 3rd fret on the B string, which is a D. Now what we have D, A, D, F sharp, D. That makes a D major chord, okay? Now you could actually tune this string down to an A, make like an open D tuning, stuff like that, but I wanna keep the 3rd fret here as the D. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the D major scale and how we're gonna combine that with this really easy Travis-style finger-picking pattern, okay? So, my thumb is just jumping back and forth between the E and the D string, which is now just a low D, and the next octave up D, right? I think it sounds cool if you kind of like palm mute it like that, right? So having this G, B, F sharp just makes it a very D major sound. And then we can kind of do that, right? So my thumb is going back and forth between those two strings, and then my middle finger is gonna grab the B string, all right? So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna walk our way through the D major scale, thinking of intervals, all right? The major scale in intervals is, we start with the note, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, okay? So, the reason you want to think in intervals is because you can move this around on any string starting at just like a root note. Fret-wise, it would be 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, but again, you can think of it as, you know, intervals with like the spacings, or for this particular key, we can use most of the inlays. The inlays are the odd numbers, with the exception of the 12th fret. Inlay just being these white bars on the D Angelico here. And it's basically all the odd numbered ones except for 9. We skip 9 and go around it, okay? Now, what I want you to start doing is just go back and forth between the D strings now, what used to be a low E and a D string. And then when you get to the D string, pinch your thumb and your middle finger together to get that note, right? So then the next time we get to the D string, let's advance further up the scale. So 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, okay? If I mute it, the nice thing about muting it is it kind of gets that deadened rhythm sound, and then it kind of like that melody kind of pops out a little bit more, right? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add just maybe like a little melody on top of it, sometimes between those root notes, okay? Like 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And eventually you just get a groove going, and the rhythm just kind of takes care of itself after you do it enough, right? So I think some of the coolest stuff is when you maybe add in another like another note, like. So you'll notice, like right there, my pointer finger now is getting what used to be the G string that I've tuned to an F sharp. Okay. So now what we've got here is like if I go 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so this will be like the most Travis picking style part of this entire lesson, where the 1 count is going to be the low E string, the 2 count is going to be both of the D string and the B string together, right? Your thumb and your middle finger together. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so the last part, 3, the and of 3 is going to be your pointer finger by itself, and then 4 is downstroke on the D string. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Also, in the D major scale, remember, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. The distance between the 7th note and the root note again is a half step, so 1 fret back from D is the 7th note there. You can always go open B, and then the 2nd fret, and then your root note is here, so. Just kind of make something really simple. And again, I love this Descent pedal for this, just because it really, it kind of glues an ambience together with all this stuff, which is why I picked this one specifically. Again, you can add it a higher octave too, to kind of make it sound more angelic. But I kind of like just having like the low end there because it kind of makes that snap a little bit more, right? And I love lower octave reverbs, and again, this pedal is really great at it, right? Okay, so all this stuff is really just once you get familiar with all these notes, right? You can just kind of go around at random and slide in between them and around them. So. Kind of playing around. There's really no pattern. I'm just using this back and forth as a way to kind of like explore different parts of that of the scale through intervals, right? Now you probably want to eventually change the bass note to make it sound a little more interesting. The most common chord progressions out there are 1, 4, 5s. So you would take the 4th note and the 5th note of the D major scale. Now remember, we downtuned the E string to D, so those intervals still work on the low D string. There's the root note, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So now if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 chord would be like the 5th fret. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the 5th fret on that E string, and then your ring finger is gonna grab the 5th fret on the B string for the 4 chord, and then for the 5 chord, a step higher. So here's your D chord. Here's what is going to be your 4 chord, again in the key of D, D, E, F sharp, G. This would be a G chord, and this would be like an A major chord, right? So we can just jump around and go all over the place. So here's the D. Now you'll notice that maybe I'm adding other notes to these chords because since they're in the key of D, all of the D intervals still work over them. Like if I want to go to that chord right here, I can remember, all right, well, I remember in that D scale, these 3 notes are around here. So again, I think it's a lot of fun and it's easy, and like, you know, once you get that trained into your thumb to just not even think about it, then you can like just do really cool stuff. And thinking about kind of like where those intervals are on the D string, right, which is, you know, open D, and then on the B string, which is the 3rd fret, and how they kind of like move in concert with each other through the neck is a great way to start training intervals into the muscle memory of your fingers and kind of like just your hands in general. Like thinking of like the minor chords would be, you know, if you think of like just where maybe like a minor interval would be, again, a minor 3rd would be 3 frets as compared to 4 frets. So if you can find an F on here, it's pretty cool because, like for instance, remember this F sharp string, now the 12th fret because we tuned down as F sharp. If we make this flat, like right there, that 11th fret, the G string, sounds so cool, right? Especially after we've been playing a major for so long. So anyways, I just think that's a really fun thing that you could do to kind of maybe eat out of a rut. Work on your finger style. You can do it in a totally open tuning. Again, if you want to just tune this B down to an A, and then the high string down to D, then you're in like pure open D. But again, like I said, kind of being able to fret that root note and add vibrato to it. I think is like a really cool thing to do in combination with like a cool reverb pedal. So I'm also going to do, now I'm going to put in the performance I did with Pasha, both of us going through the same pedal, just kind of at different times, because I think it sounds really cool to kind of have that extra dimension on a violin too. So enjoy that, and thank you to Sweetwater and Walrus for sponsoring this video. Thanks a lot.